It was 2020, and the world was shut down due to the COVID pandemic. People were dying left and right. Hospitals were overwhelmed. Countries were going into lockdown, and people's lives were being destroyed. But there was one person who was happy during all of this chaos, and her name was Isabella Rossi. Isabella was an American spy who worked for the CIA. She was on a mission in Rome, Italy, and she was loving every minute of it. Not only was she in one of the most beautiful cities in the world, but she also had a hot Italian lover named Marco who was helping her with her mission. Marco was a member of the Italian Mafia, and he was providing Isabella with information that she needed to complete her mission. Information that could potentially save thousands of lives. But who was this mysterious woman, and why was she in Rome? Well, let me tell you. Isabella was not your average CIA agent. She was beautiful, smart, and quick-witted. She could get into any place or situation using just her beauty and charm, and she knew how to use it to her advantage. She was also incredibly brave and fearless. She was not afraid to put herself in danger in order to get the job done. In fact, Isabella had a special love for dangerous missions. She got a thrill out of it. She loved the adrenaline rush of knowing that she could die at any moment. It made her feel alive. That's why when the CIA came up with a mission that involved infiltrating the Italian Mafia and stealing their secrets, they sent Isabella. She was the perfect woman for the job. But why did they send her to Rome? Well, let me tell you, the Italian Mafia was one of the most powerful and dangerous organizations in the world. They controlled everything from drugs to weapons to human trafficking, and they were based in Italy. So the CIA needed someone special to infiltrate their ranks and bring them down. And who better than Isabella Rossi, the most beautiful woman in the world? But why did the CIA choose her for this mission? Well, it wasn't just because of her beauty, although that was definitely a plus. It was also because of her brains. Isabella was one of the smartest women the CIA had ever seen. She was able to speak multiple languages fluently, including Italian, which was perfect for this mission. She was also a master of disguise and could blend into any crowd. Plus, she was a black belt in several martial arts, so she could handle herself in a fight. But maybe most importantly, she had a thing for dangerous men. She was drawn to them like a magnet, and she knew how to use that to her advantage. So in 2020, when the CIA came up with a plan to take down the Italian Mafia, they sent Isabella to Rome. She arrived in style, of course, in a private jet. As soon as she stepped off the plane, she was greeted by Marco, her hot Italian lover who was going to help her with her mission. Marco was everything that Isabella loved in a man. He was dark, handsome, and dangerous. He was also very wealthy, which was a bonus. He was the perfect target for Isabella, and she knew it. She had been following him for months, and she had already infiltrated his inner circle. Now all she had to do was get close enough to him to get the information she needed. But Marco was not an easy man to get close to. He was a tough nut to crack, but Isabella was up for the challenge. She was a spy, after all. She was used to getting what she wanted. One day, Isabella decided to make a move on Marco. She invited him over to her place for dinner, and then she turned on the charm. She wore a tight little black dress that showed off her beautiful curves, and she put on her sexiest voice. She knew how to tease and how to turn up the heat, and Marco was eating it up. He was so captivated by Isabella's beauty and charm that he didn't even notice that she was playing him. He thought he was in love with her, but he was really just in love with the idea of her. You see, Isabella was a spy. She was a professional at deception, and she knew how to manipulate people into doing what she wanted. She was like a puppet master, and Marco was just one of her puppets. As the weeks went by, Isabella got closer and closer to Marco. She learned all of his secrets, and she even met his family. She was so good at what she did that even Marco's mother, Mama Rosa, was fooled by her. Mama Rosa was a tough cookie. She was the matriarch of the family, and she had a sixth sense when it came to danger. But Isabella passed her test with flying colors. Mama Rosa actually invited her to join the family for Christmas. That was how good Isabella was. But all the while, Isabella was just biding her time. She was waiting for the perfect moment to strike, and she knew that moment would come when she least expected it. Meanwhile, Marco was head over heels in love with Isabella. He thought he had finally found the one, and he couldn't imagine his life without her. He started making plans for their future together, like buying a house in the countryside where they could raise a family. But Isabella just played along. She knew that Marco was just another pawn in her game, and she had no intention of marrying him. She wasn't even sure if she loved him. I mean, she liked him, but love, that was a different story. Then came the day when Isabella made her move. She had been planning this for months, and she was ready. It all went down at a party. Marco and his family were celebrating their latest business deal, and they were all drunk. This was Isabella's chance. She slipped some truth serum into Marco's drink, and then she got to work. Using her knowledge of Marco and his family, Isabella was able to get the information she needed. She learned about their illegal activities, their money laundering schemes, everything. She was like a shark. She smelled blood, and she was going in for the kill. But she also knew that she had to be careful. If Marco and his family found out that she was a spy, they would kill her. So she played it cool. She acted like nothing had happened, and she made sure that Marco and his family never suspected a thing. In the end, Isabella was successful. She got the information she needed, and she lived to tell the tale. The CIA was thrilled. They had the information they needed to take down the Italian Mafia, and all thanks to Isabella Rossi, the most beautiful woman in the world. After the mission was complete, Isabella left Rome and went back to the United States. She was a hero, but she didn't care. She was more interested in finding her next mission than in reliving past victories. For Isabella, it was always about the next job, the next conquest. She was a spy, after all. She wasn't in it for the glory or the recognition. She was in it for the thrill of the game. Now, you might be wondering what happened to Marco. Well, he and Isabella went their separate ways. He never found out that she was a spy, and he never stopped loving her. But Isabella, she moved on. She was already on her way to her next mission, which took her to the Dominican Republic. But that's a story for another time. Now, if you want to hear more stories about the most beautiful woman in the world, then you're going to have to stay tuned. Who knows where our next adventure will take us? Maybe we'll find her in Paris or Tokyo, or maybe she'll be closer to home. We don't know. All we know is that she's out there, and she's still on the job. The world is full of beautiful women, but there's only one most beautiful woman in the world. She's the one who can turn heads, break hearts, and get what she wants. And if you want to know more about her, then you're going to have to keep watching. Who knows where we'll find her next? But one thing's for sure, she's always up to something. That's all for now, folks. Thanks for watching. And remember, if you want more stories about the most beautiful woman in the world, then you're going to have to stay tuned. Who knows where our next adventure will take us? But one thing's for sure, she's always up to something. And let me tell you, this woman is more than just a pretty face. She's a spy, a killer, a lover, and a legend. She's the most beautiful woman in the world. The year is 2022. The place is Santo Domingo in the Dominican Republic. Isabella Rossi's mission in the Dominican Republic is to gather intelligence on a powerful drug cartel that is operating in the country. Isabella is staying in a luxurious high-rise apartment building in the upscale Santo Domingo neighborhood of Piantini. She has been in the Dominican Republic for several weeks and has been working with a local contact to gather information on the cartel. Her contact is a woman named Yesenia, a 30-year-old Dominican who runs a popular nightclub called Republic. Every night, Republic is filled with the sounds of merengue and bachata as Dominicans and tourists alike come to dance the night away. But beneath the surface, it's not all fun and games. Yesenia has her own reasons for wanting to take down the cartel. They had threatened her family, and she was now working with Isabella to bring them down. One night, Isabella is sitting at a table in the back of the club watching the other patrons dance when she sees a group of men enter the club. They are led by a tall, imposing man with a shaved head and a goatee. This must be him, she thinks. This is the target, the big boss of the cartel. Isabella approaches the man and introduces herself. She is beautiful and charismatic, and soon the two are engaged in a conversation. He is intrigued by her, and she by him. They dance together and share a drink as they talk about their lives and dreams. But Isabella knows that this is just a business meeting. She is here to get information, not make friends. She asks him questions about the cartel, about his business interests in the Dominican Republic. He is guarded at first, but eventually opens up to her. As the night goes on, Isabella learns all about the cartel's operations in the Dominican Republic. She learns about their drug trafficking routes, their alliances with other cartels in the region, and their plans for expanding their territory. She also learns about the inner workings of the organization, the hierarchy of the cartel, the different factions, and the rivalries between them. By the end of the night, Isabella has everything she needs. She thanks the man for his help and promises to keep his secrets. She knows that he will be a valuable asset to her mission, and she intends to use him to bring down the cartel. As the sun rises over the Dominican Republic, Isabella makes her way back to her apartment. She is tired but exhilarated. She has the information she needs, and she knows that she is one step closer to completing her mission. This is a story about courage, determination, and the will to succeed. For Isabella, beauty is more than just skin deep. It is a weapon, a tool that she uses to get what she wants. And in the Dominican Republic, where beauty is celebrated, Isabella is in her element.